Hello everyone, this is Omri and we are going to start solving the pair exercise Loggin. I have the starting point up and running, and we're going to start by talking about the home view, the user page. Now, let's talk about the store. Because right now in the store we have sort of no default user, and we should make some ability to have a user. This isn't ultimately going to keep somebody logged in, but we do on some level need to track on the front end who that logged in user is. So let's see, we've got an initial state with the user. We're going to want some kind of action type. Let's call it get user. And we're going to want some action creator. Like let's call it got me. And for some user, that's going to return the action type get user. And it will return that user as the payload. Down below in our reducer, we should now have a case for get user, where we copy everything over that's already in the state, and then include for the user whatever the .user property of the action was. So we're not currently using got me. We probably want to export this action creator. Pretty soon we're going to replace it with something else, I imagine, but this seems reasonable. In fact, you know what? We can test it out. Let's go into, right now if I refresh, there won't really be anything on my Redux store state, but since we have our logging middleware in Redux, I could just try a store.dispatch of, let's pull in got me. And let's give it some dummy data here. So it might be like ID1, and the email is cody@email.com. And I think there's supposed to be an image URL property on each of these things. And I think it defaults to Cody PNG. All right, so if I refresh, cool. We're seeing that the action gets dispatched and that the next state includes that user on it. That's a pretty good start. The other thing we want to do is make sure that we don't show the home screen if there is no logged in user. So over on the user page here, we're going to want to send the logged in user, so whoever the current logged in user is, into the user page. That sounds like a map state to props to me. So we want to pass in as a prop the user based off of the state.user, so that up here we can access it from the props and then use it. So for here we're probably going to want to have an image source of the user's image URL, and here we'll put their email. But this actually isn't quite what we need. This is if there is a user. But if there isn't, so if there's no user ID, or rather, sorry, if there's no user, we want to, oh, actually no, if there's no user ID, it defaults to an empty object. So we can just check it for an ID. Then we're going to want to return a different component. For this, we're going to use a redirect component, because ultimately what we want to have happen is send them back to slash. And since we're in a render method here, instead of doing a history push or something like that, we can actually render a redirect component to slash. And when this occurs, this will essentially change the URL bar to slash, but yeah, we need to import it. So that's a redirect, and that comes from React Router DOM. This redirect thing is useful whenever you want to, in the logic of rendering something, end up at another view. Looking at map state to props right now, I'm also seeing the linter telling me we don't enone props, so I'm gonna delete it. Maybe we'll pull it in later. Let's see what happens. Just save the code. We refresh over here. When we go to home, when we go to home right now, it is displaying it to us, which is good because we were dispatching this got me action up here as just a sanity check, and it's displaying the image and the email, so that's really good. Let's take away this sanity check and do a different one. Let's check that if there is no user, that we do indeed get redirected back to the home view, or sorry, to the slash, to the root route. And we do. So even though I try to go to slash home, I won't be able to. It'll just send me back to slash.